The Virtual Watchtower Network, the VWT, is a solution designed to raise visibility in end-to-end supply chains. As a cargo owner-driven port-centric partnership, the Virtual Watchtower is a machine-powered solution to secure on-time deliveries of orders to customers all over the world. Here's an example of how it works. 10 containers from Northern Forest destined for Australia have been shipped by rail to Oulu in Finland, where they are loaded onto the feeder ship Hara 5. Cargo is exposed to risks. Ideally, all the parties concerned can monitor the merchandise moving from origin to destination. Hara 5 has lost some time in a storm. The ship's Global Fleet Operations Centre in Copenhagen is updated on the situation. If they stick to the original plan, many containers will miss their connection at Zeebrugge. The captain of the Hara 5 and the Operations Centre collaboratively assess the situation, and the captain decides to follow the machine-powered VWT recommendation and increase the ship's passage speed to make the planned arrival time. On arrival at Zeebrugge, the personnel in the port's control room monitor the reloading of the 10 containers onto the Blue Ocean, the ship that will deliver the cargo to Sydney via Singapore. An update on the successful port visit is delivered to the Operations Centre in Copenhagen and in turn to the ports and each cargo owner. On the way to Singapore, a new incident emerges, a potential wait and delay in the Suez Canal. The VWT immediately identifies the cargo and the affected cargo owners. The VWT flags and alerts the potentially impacted parties. In a virtual situation room hosted in the VWT, the network's members from different organisations and places across the globe discuss the incident instantly based on analysis provided by the VWT. On this occasion, an update arrives that the situation has been resolved. After an on-time arrival in Singapore, the Blue Ocean's reloading of cargo has been monitored and shared with all parties involved thanks to the VWT. The ship is on schedule for its destination, Sydney. Whether your cargo travels by sea, land or air, the VWT is a new way of ensuring sustainable, safe, secure and on-time transport. We thank our partners for supporting the Virtual Watchtower project. Contact RISE or A-Star IHPC if you're interested to join.
Welcome everybody to our fireside chat on the Virtual Watchtower project. My name is Sergej Shamsula. I am head of ecosystems at Transporeon, a Trimble company. While I cannot see any fireside around, I have a number of high-level speakers instead with me today, and together we want to bring more light into the entire undertaking of a Virtual Watchtower project. So may I kindly ask my guests to come on stage and introduce themselves. Wolfgang, would you like to start, please?
Thank you very much. Of course, Serge. Great to be here. My name is Wolfgang Lehmacher. I'm a partner at Anchor and advisor to RISE. We will see why this is important that I say this. I have been the director and head of supply chain and transport industries at the World Economic Forum and spent about 30 years in supply chain logistics and transport. I'm, in fact, a member of the leadership team of the VWT.
Thank you to join us today and great to have you with us. Michael, would you like to continue? Michael, we cannot hear you, I think.
Thanks a lot, Serge. My name is Michael Lind, and I'm the sponsor of the Virtual Watchtower Network Initiative. I am working as a senior strategic research advisor at the Research Institute of Sweden called RISE, and also adjunct professor in maritime mathematics at Chalmers, the first one in the world. So I'm very happy to be here today and looking forward to the conversation.
Overjoyed to have you with us and handing over to Anders.
Hello, my name is Anders Rystedt and working for Alema, who is since 2022 separated from Sandvik Group. And I'm working with the logistics and very much focusing on supply chain improvements. And we are very much looking forward to the initiative going on, because we feel that we need support to become better in our communication with customers, our own intra-group planning and networking capital, whatever, sustainability. So very, very much positive to the initiative going on.
Very happy to have you with us, Anders, and tack så mycket to make our today's fireside chat
Thank you.
A very Scandinavian-driven one, with good reasons and background we will come to later. And finally, can you also introduce yourself, Mark, please?
Yes, Serge, thank you very much. My name is Mark Scherling. I'm a consultant to Transporeon, a Trimble company. Mainly as a visibility architect and responsible for data partnerships, which will come in play within the Virtual Watchtower project, of course. Ample experience in maritime and IT, surely in the combination of that, and also co-developer of a number of award-winning solutions on data sharing and collaboration within Alice. Thank you, and looking forward to our talks.
Indeed, the latter is important for the entire project. But let me start with Wolfgang. The Virtual Watchtower, that's a pretty new but exciting project indeed, with a wide variety of participants and contributors. First of all, I think we are all curious to understand what has happened, which has led to the foundation or the idea of a Virtual Watchtower.
Sure. I think the triggering, and you can call it a eureka moment, was when Michael walked into the PSA office during the Singapore Maritime Week and asked for data. And as we face often, the answer was, why should I get the data? Why should I give you the data? And Michael said, yeah, I have a power of attorney from some of your customers. And I let Michael talk more about that. But in fact, the response was, of course, then you can have the data. So that triggered the idea there must be a way to overcome one of the biggest challenges in the industry, which is data sharing, and particularly primary data sharing. The second thing which rocked, in fact, my boat was when Michael called me. I was exactly in the same room and told me, Wolfgang, I want to build a virtual watchtower. And my first reaction was, Michael, not another one, right? We have so many watchtowers and so many platforms. But as this is still this, and with this I mean visibility, data sharing, a lot of calculations which we need to manage our supply chains, is still an unresolved problem. I said, okay, I be as always open-minded and let's discuss this. And during the discussion, we said, okay, there are a lot of platforms which are very good, but what if we build around these platforms a community that build kinds of the best of breed, but focus very strongly on two narrow use cases. One is disruption management, and the other is carbon dioxide emission calculations. So let's be very focused, be minimalist, which is an important design criteria for the VWT, be minimalist and build something which is community collaboration enabled by a digital tool. So that's how it all came about. Then Michael and myself, we tested it with a number of shippers and operators and actors in supply chain and logistics, and the feedback was positive. And then we decided maybe it's time that we launch a cargo owner-driven, terminal-centric project around visibility to better manage our supply chains and the carbon footprints. And maybe my last point is that this would not have happened that easily without the shattering experiences during COVID-19.
So an
And
accelerator, so to speak.
it was an accelerator because we have seen how complex our supply chains are and how limited our visibility, in fact, is.
Well, we can argue it's maybe a positive effect that after COVID-19 has more or less eased out, the number of supply chain disruptions did not really decrease much. Different ones for sure, but we have enough hurdles in place, and another couple of hurdles on the horizon. So the validity, I think, is secured, so to speak. But if I may also ask, on the journey this virtual watchtower project has taken from the foundation until today, what would be the key supporters and milestones you have experienced?
I think this is easy to respond. The first milestone was to really set up the community, finding at the end 19 supporters of the project, which in fact leads to the second milestone, which is the whole, as a application and contractual part. So first, get the people. Second, get them agreed that we do a project, get Vinnova, one of the backers, and Singapore Maritime Institute, SMI, another backer. Vinnova is the funder in Sweden, and SMI the funder in Singapore. Get them agreeing to the project. So this means application, commitment letter, project agreement. So this is a big chunk of work. Took us 9 months to get this done. And then the third, what is the deliverable of 2023? So we launched the project in February 2023, and with many workshops, weekly coordination meetings, and a lot of writing, we came up with a design document as the basis for phase 2, which is 2024 and a bit into 2025, which is in fact building first the minimal viable product, the MVP, and expand this MVP then into a prototype. So these are for me, the three milestones: set up the community, get the paperwork done, and work on the foundations for MVP development.
Thank you, Wolfgang. I'll come back to the next steps later in our chat today. If I may move to Anders, as Wolfgang said it, even though a couple of stakeholders are super important and relevant for this exercise, still the shipper is in the focus and at the core of it. As a shipper representative, may I ask you, when and how did you get in touch with the entire idea and on board at the virtual watchtower yourself?
I mean, this journey started many years ago. We put in a lot of efforts on our own initially to build our own track and trace, to provide information, and then realizing that after, I mean, as long as everything is going according to plan, of course, the information we provided was very, very good. But that, when it happened, something we did not have control, and also realizing very much that the information we had was more like a report that it came very late. If we had an actual arrival in New York, for instance, then they could report that the week after, things like that. So we realized very quickly that we can't change the industry on our own. And knowing that, I guess many in the industry have had the same problem. So we have participated in a number of projects coming to this, very finally starting to see the light in the tunnel, so to speak, that we need help to get the information, to provide, the data sharing. We can't go out and ask the shipping lines or whatever to provide us. And we wouldn't have be able to.
You can go out, but what do you get in return? At which point
for
of
me,
time?
this is. We see the light in the tunnel now, and hopefully at some point we will be there and informing everyone because we have lots of problems, like if a container is not loading on a vessel. That is something we don't know anything. As we have the same information that it will leave and it will come, but we don't have any information. So that's why for me this is so important. And again, creating the whole supply chain transparency. Where's all these questions? Where's my order? That's what we will provide, and then of course adding all the features that will. Initially it was very much these time events, but talking about sustainability coming more and more and all that, because that's what we are measuring today. But the accuracy of the data is of course questionable, if you put it like that. So for us this is extremely important. Becoming the best supplier in the industry of what we are doing, so to speak. That's what we are aiming at.
Great to hear.
Yeah, yes.
Mikael, Anders said there is light at the end of the tunnel, and someone is contributing to have that tunnel built. Apart from Alema, which kind of organizations are part of this community, as Wolfgang called it? Who is contributing to the virtual watchtower, and who guys do you need, and do you miss anybody, not by individual, but from a sector or so?
So thanks a lot, and thanks for the introduction of the VWT initiative, guys. I think first of all, I would like to stress this thinking of the community-driven approach, and that means basically that we took this starting point of engaging some different shippers, and we started actually directly with the cargo owners, the transport buyers, and we got 5 on board, which we find if you want to make a difference in the transport ecosystem, we believe that we need to put and utilize the pressure or the concerns that the transport buyers actually do have. Then following that, we have also now approached different, or we have been approached by several freight forwarders as well. So they are also on the scheme, and I think there's a 50-50 relationship between the amount of direct assignments from the cargo owners and direct assignments from the freight forwarders. So I think that is pretty representative at the moment. Of course, we always want more because it is a question of network effects here. Then what we did was that we said that, okay, we had PSA, and we also have strong relationship to big shipping lines, etc. So why not ensure that they are on board as well? And I don't remember now exactly the figure, but I think we are talking about, when it comes to just in the maritime sector, talking about shipping companies, we are talking about 15,000 of shipping companies operating this mass fleet out there. So of course it's very hard to get everybody on board in this initiating community, so to say. But so what we said was that can we please have all of you both acting on your own concerns, but also acting and thinking about what would this mean if we then expanded the network towards others that are facing the similar situation. So they basically have two roles. All these the ones that are on board this community putting the requirements on enhanced transparency and collaboration, etc. Then what is unique here, and I think this is actually the first time in history that this has happened, is that three research institutes go together in order to orchestrate something on a neutral foundation that is bringing competitive spaces together in different ways. So at the moment, we do not suffer any concerns whether actor X, Y, or Z, if they are competitors, that they are part of the same community, which is very nice. And these three research institutes, they are now thinking thoroughly how can we now take this into the next step or the next level of actually bringing this into the equation. Also, of course, in the light of that, we really want to push the community-based approach. We also try to work on a very distributed solution, meaning that we want to have a community of tech providers on board that is actually contributing to that. So it's not a case where VWT is powered by one actor or one tech provider. It's a case that there's a conglomerate of actors, and those are in continual recruitment to the community, as well as we do also have a couple of universities on board providing the necessary applied research on supply chain resilience. So, having said that, it was instrumental to have the collaboration between Research Institute of Sweden and Singapore Maritime Institute in order to get to this point. And then Singapore Maritime Institute chipped in A-Star as funded A-Star from A-Star Institute of Higher Performance Computing as a Singaporean party. RISE was funded by Vinnova, as Wolfgang was saying, and then we also got VTT on board, which is a Finnish equivalent to RISE and A-Star. So, having said all this, I think that what we really want to stretch out and say that this is really at the front at the moment on moving the possibilities of supply chain resilience and disruption management, greenhouse gas calculations, etc., based on both collaboration and digitalization. And anyone that wants to be interested and join this community are most welcome. It's not for profit thinking. We want to get to a point where VWT is conceived as a public good.
Thank you, Mikkel. Anders, may I come back to you? You already started to explain what is more or less your experience and the motivation for you on behalf of Alema to be part of that community. If you look into the future, a little bit Star Trek style, so to speak, what would have to be achieved that you go back to your CEO and say, mission accomplished?
I mean, it's more like getting in control of all the flows we do have, all the routes we have, all the containers we have out there, and knowing that, I mean, proactive information. Hopefully, at the end, also be able to prioritize or whatever if we have short shipments or whatever, because. So all these things we're talking about, the notification, monitoring. I mean, we aren't that many people here monitoring all the goods going out, and and utilizing all the information we do have out there, and getting that information, and be able to proactively inform our customers we are late, but it will come a week later or whatever instead, and because that are things we can't do today. I mean, it looks great when we look on historical data. I know exactly how it goes, but what about now? And
Yeah.
so all this monitoring, and also, I mean, what we have been discussing in the project, I mean, utilizing maybe AI, not only, I mean, what predict what can happen. I mean, you talked about the COVID. I mean, after that, I mean, it was crazy. I don't think anything was running according to the schedule, so to speak. And this unfortunately impacts us when we don't have the reliability. I mean, we have a lot of material like inventory on the vessels, and we are adding on security weeks, meaning we have more and more goods out there instead of, I mean, the objective is of course to go the other way around. I mean, so I think all the deliverables, if we can deliver 80% what we are talking about, I think everyone will be very, very happy. And I guess, of course, this is nothing that will just reach some point. I think it will continue to develop over the years as well.
Makes sense.
So it will be very easy for me to go to, so you say, to the CEO and say that we are in an extremely much better position than we used to be, for sure.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the structure within the project. What modules need to be tackled, and this is, I think, where I should go back to Mikael and ask him what is inside the VWT project, and maybe briefly explain each of the models you would like to share with us a bit.
You are challenging me now, Sergio. We are in a very much of a design phase, but there is a module-based structure, and we also believe that we had the initial idea that different modules could, of course, be provided by different providers. I mean, we almost picture it from the beginning as like an app store, almost that each individual virtual watchtower could download the services that they wanted to have, and not saying anything about the business model of the app store, but you get my point, I think. So really, we are aiming for some kind of service ecosystem around the VWT. However, in order for that to work, it's first of all necessary that we have some kind of middleware that is routing the communication between the virtual watchtowers that are engaged in a certain shipment by the shipper. That is key. So it's some kind of roaming functionality, so we secure and provide trust in that the data that is being shared from one virtual watchtower in one end to another end is not everybody's knowledge, so to say. And that I think that we have learned in the past when it comes to digital data sharing. The first aspect is that what we want to push is more private data sharing, in terms of that more data, more accurate data from the source, so that we, based on that, can build some kind of situational awareness, which is handled by something called the builders, generating timelines of what is expected to happen and what has happened. And that means that one key ingredient in this project is to withdraw from a minimalistic point of view planned and actual times of arrival and departure along the end-to-end chain. And that is also important to mention here. It is not a maritime project. It is not an aviation project. It's end-to-end in the sense of what the means of transport that the shippers are using. Then, given that we have those timelines, and there are three different builder components depending on which type of actor you are. If you're a shipper, you have one type of timeline where you see the whole flow, and if you are a transport or a carrier operator, you have a certain timeline for the operations that you are concerned of, or if you are a terminal operator, you have another timeline, which are the operations that you are concerned of. Then this is using public data feeds, these timelines, in order to predict whether there would be any possible disruptions happening. What do we want at the end of the day is to utilize what we call the indicator and warning framework, telling the shipper that, and also the other involved actors, that there will be a situation here coming up. And that means that we have an opportunity to take action before that has come up. And I think that is also what Aleima is saying now here in this interview, that we want to know more what is about to happen. And then we have a chance to handle that. We also believe that we cannot separate this more of a high degree of predictability type of effort without also looking into emissions. And there is also a very important point here where we want to take the opportunity at the same time as we are withdrawing the minimalistic set of data on arrival and departure, but also gather data directly from the source on emissions. So we have emission calculations as one important module. And then the last one, two more that I should mention is what we have emphasized very strongly is that no large-scale digitalization without any large-scale collaboration, which means that we're also pushing a collaboration module to support the involved actors when there is a disruption that has occurred, so that they can interact with each other. Everything out of this needs to be powered by different analytical services. That could be big data analytical services, could be AI founded or machine learning, etc., that would inform the individual virtual watchtowers. So again, there needs to be a middleware, there needs to be front-end views, etc., at each VWT. There will be a local installation of those at each transport operator. And at the end of the day, we will, of course, in the beginning, not have the whole world captured by VWTs, but as long as we see that the shippers are using different transport operators, terminal operators along the line, then we should also have a very low barrier procedures for onboarding additional actors into this.
Yeah,
the data
thank you.
is expected. Sorry.
Still something to go, sorry.
Last point. The data is expected to be locally stored at each VWT. I think this is also something that we have learned from not running towards centralized solutions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mikael. Mark, if I may come back to you. End of last year, Transporeon, Trimble company, was more than honored to be accepted as part of the virtual watchtower community. If you reflect on what Mikael just said, which of these modules do you think Transporeon and Trimble can contribute to, and where do you see the main challenges based on your experience?
Okay, an interesting one. Well, if I would be Dutch, I would say all of them. Fortunately, I'm Belgium and I'm not Dutch, so we are a bit more restrained. Now, what makes it interesting, the complete project, is the distributed and the collaborative nature of this. And we are convinced that with our Transporeon tracking and visibility engines, that we can bring a big part of the collaboration and technology stack into the table. Part of the advantage within a Transporeon environment is also the fact that, well, we do not only bring technology, but we also bring a network to the table with about 2,000 BCOs and about 180,000 carriers being a road, air, and ocean. And that will also be an important part because, okay, you need also the carriers, you need also these connections. Our solutions, they are very mature in all aspects. So they bring data gathering, they bring data cleansing, they bring predictive capabilities to the table. They measure disruption. They are able to pilot notifications on this because, okay, if you know it and you have the predictive nature, then you can act on it. Data and information is knowledge. But okay, the biggest challenge in the complete story, and there we bring strength, but we bring also part of the challenge to the table is the data availability. We are connected to already a lot of parties globally, both in public and in private data, but still data sharing remains, and the will to do data sharing remains the Achilles heel of any solution that you bring to the table. And it's exactly on that point that also in the Transporeon, they were awarded in December 23, prize again from Alice as Logistics Innovation Gold Award for data sharing. So we are quite experienced in this and looking forward also to contribute on this aspect and to see how we can foster this openness of data sharing. Because that's one of the key points within the virtual watchtower, where all the parties in the chain, they have a consensual agreement, which is embedded in the DNA of the solution to share data. Because you can bring the best solutions, technical solutions to the table. If you do not have the data to feed it,
Right.
you will have a stillborn child. And that's, of course, something that we want to avoid. So in that aspect, looking forward to contribute technically and looking forward to contribute on the network and on the data sharing aspect.
Thank you, Mark.
Just a question.
Please.
I feel that the openness to share data today is much improved compared to 10 years ago, because at that point I felt that why do you need our data? I mean, it was more like that.
But
do you experience the same thing?
If I may add something on that, sorry to jump in, but I'm working with CUNY Logistics University and Smart Freight Center on a report which we will share soon with the public, and improving data sharing is pretty marginal from what we see. From that report, where we have interviewed some 700 stakeholders of the industry, European ones, US American ones, and some of the rest of the world, with about 500 carriers and 200 shippers, we can see that more than 40% of the carriers still have the position, I'm not going to share any data under which circumstances ever. And this is indeed a challenge. And to be honest, as a European, I was thinking, well, this is pretty much European style. On the US, which is used to be a bit more liberal, the approach to data sharing might be a bit more relaxed. Unfortunately, it is not so in the US. The share of carriers rejecting data sharing was more than 60%. So there's still a way to go. And sometimes I think we also have to find a good formula where we increase the comfort of the different people. But that takes us maybe into too many details.
I would maybe let me just add one thing to it, that what we see today in the market is, yes, as such, there are more solutions to provide data. And yes, there's a data awareness in the market, but there's also the danger that you see in the market today of data commoditization, where everybody assumes that the data is the new gold and that they have to monetize it beyond its use on that one. And that they are actually missing the point in all this data sharing, because they are limiting it to making it, let's say, too expensive or too restrictive to data access.
Thank you, Mark. Now, Wolfgang, back to you. Now, I think we pretty much understand what the virtual watchtower is, how the whole journey began, where we are today. What would be the next milestones from your point of view in terms of timeline, and what are the plans on the remaining trip, so to speak?
I would like to take it from the deliverable. So this is a 2-year project. So it has been funded for 2 years. That means we need to deliver this, what we see as a collaborative approach to data sharing, a collaborative approach to disruption and CO2e footprint management, and a collaborative approach to building new tools and new solutions, which in fact is complementary I think this is important to say, right? We have here a strong provider of visibility and freight management at the table with Transporeon and Trimble. So what we are building is not duplicating; it is complementing what is on the table currently or in use currently, and that's why we are so happy to have technology providers like you in the community. So we need to deliver this beginning of 2025. What does it mean? It means that we are aiming at a community of about 50 active users. That goes to your question, whom do we need? We need 50 active users. We are open system. We are welcome to discuss with everyone the partnership. So that's one thing, and that needs to be there in beginning 2025. And then we need at least a full functional prototype that needs to be there at that point. And then the third element is that we need a vehicle, a harbor, an entity which carries this on. And this could be either a phase two of the project. It depends a little bit on the funders, right? What they want to do, how they want to help us. But it could be a phase two project. It could be the funding of an entity and other hybrid solutions. And we are discussing this. So this is what we need to deliver. The next critical moment is Singapore Maritime Week 2024. I mentioned that it all started in Singapore in 2022. That was the eureka moment that triggered it all. Then in 2023, once we had the project approved, we presented the video, the vision, which encapsulates the vision. So 2024 will be the demo of the MVP. And this is where currently all the energy goes in, yours and ours. So Mark is very much involved in it, and I think that became clear by his answer. And so is Alema and many others. So that is the next critical point. So MVP, then we have about, let's say, a year. I think we will in 2025 at the Singapore Maritime Week, we will present the full functioning the prototype. We will present the entity, and we will hopefully have an interesting gathering of all the active users, which hopefully are more than 50. So it will be a very busy year to get this all done.
Yeah, keep fingers crossed for sure. Mark, at the end of the day, everything needs to convert into a value for the different stakeholders to an extent this is possible on an equal level. If we look at, and you said very well, like the self-understanding of Transporeon is we are 49% is of what we do is the technology, but 51%, at least as important, is the network. What are the spin-off effects for the Transporeon net and Trimble network you expect from such a community and project?
Well, what's interesting is the distributed nature of the project. So being able to connect to different players in the market, different data sources, and this all under a standardized data format, because that's also something which is on the table and an integral part of the VWT project. So the more you can exchange and the more you can standardize, increases the number of data that you can, and also increases your speed to market and your adoption that you can have in the market. This combined with the data openness in the DNA would lead us to expect that Virtual WatchTower could be a real enabler in the data sharing and the data openness of international supply chains end to end. So there, the more data, the better, I would say, because with more data, we can support our customers, which are always at the heart of everything we do. We do not just gather data for the sake of gathering data, but to empower our customers and to optimize and drive their international supply chains. And that's our main takeaway of the project.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you all for your insights. Very interesting, very exciting, and very much looking forward to see how this project develops further and comes to a very successful. It won't close, if I understand it. It will grow forever, hopefully. But I have one last question from my end. As Wolfgang said it, the community still needs to grow, and additional contributors are welcome to be on board. May I ask you guys, whoever would like to answer it, what exactly should someone do if they would like to join still the virtual watchtower? Who wants to answer?
Sound, Mikael.
I suggest that you
Yes, please.
go to the www.virtualwatchtower.org website, and there is a link where you can provide an email to info@virtualwatchtower.org, and then just reach out, and that will pop up in everybody's mailboxes that are engaged in this from the leadership team, and then we will take it from there.
Easy answer to an easy question. Thank you so much. I'd like to close our today's fireside chat, and very much looking forward. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you. Have a great day.